Good morning, everyone. And welcome to another session of Python programming language. Myself, Dr. R. Sudhir Babu, Associate Professor, the Electronics and Communication Engineering Department, G. Pallarareddy Engineering College, Autonomous, Kurnool. So, last class we had discussed about the brief introduction of Python programming language and the advantages of Python programming language and the application domains of Python programming language. Today, we'll begin with the basic building blocks of Python programming language. Right. So today we'll be discussing the concepts like identifiers, variables, constants, keywords, data types, operators, expressions, and precedence of operators. Right. So these are some of the things that we'll be discussing in today's class. So we'll begin with the identifiers. So what is an identifier in the context of programming language? The identifier basically is a name used for defining variables and functions, classes, and objects, etc. So identifiers are basically names used for giving names for the variables, giving names for the functions, giving names for the classes, and giving names for the objects, etc. in a programming language. Right. So we'll begin with the important the content of any programming language, which is a variable. So variable. So variable is nothing but it is a named placeholder in a programming environment to hold a value or a data of any type. Variable is a named placeholder of a programming language used to hold the data or a value of any type or any data type. Right. See, the data can be the numbers, the whole numbers like integers. The data can be a real number like both integer part and fractional part. Data can be alphabets. Data can be characters like that. So the variable is a named placeholder which is used to hold the data. And during the course of execution of a program, the variable, the value that is stored in the variable may change or may not change. Right. Yes. So in order to give the names for as the definition implies, so variable is a named placeholder. So there must be a name for a variable that is used in the program, and that during the course of execution of a program, the value stored in the variable may or may not change. So in most cases, the value stored in the variable will change during the course of execution of the program. Right. So in order to give the names for the variables, so we need to follow the certain rules. Okay, the naming convention or naming rules for variables. So in general, the variable name is a combination of upper and lowercase alphabets, upper and lowercase alphabets, and digits. And variable name should not start with a digit. And very, very important, the rule, the keywords of a programming language cannot be used as variable names. Variable names. And so variable name can have only one special character. So which is underscore. We can use only one special character as a part of a variable name, which is a underscore. And a variable name can begin with a underscore. Can start with an underscore. Okay, so these are some of the naming rules. So we need to follow in order to give the names for the variables. Now we'll see some valid variable names in Python programming language. So valid variable names. So the example, number is a valid variable name. Value is a valid variable name. Area is a valid variable name. Total underscore 123 is a valid variable name. Sum underscore 1 is also a valid variable name. And underscore ABC is also a valid variable name. Now I'll see some invalid variable names. Yeah. So 123 ABC is a invalid variable name. At the rate name is also a invalid variable name. See, a variable name should not start with a digit, and a variable name should not contain any special character except underscore. So this is how, so we'll be assigning the names for the variables, right? So as the definition implies, a variable is a named placeholder used to hold the data or values. Now we'll see how we initialize variables with values. Variable initialization. So in Python programming language, we need not specify the data type of a variable at the beginning of the program. So whenever a value is stored in a variable, then the variable data type automatically becomes the type of the data that we have assigned to a variable. So in Python programming, we need not pre-declare the data type of the variable. So whenever the value is assigned to a variable, then the data type of a variable automatically becomes the type of data that we have stored in the variable. Example. So the general syntax of variable initialization is variable name is equal to value. Example, sum is equal to 125 is a valued variable name, which is assigned a value 125. So 125 is assigned when the statement is executed in Python programming language. The value or the number 125 is assigned to a variable sum. So here the equal to is called assignment operator. Similarly, area is equal to 135. Area is equal to 135.46. Name is equal to GPREC, etc. So these are some of the variable initializations. The variables that I have used are, first one is sum, the second one is area, third one is name. And all these variables are initialized with the different types of data. Here the sum is initialized with the number 125, which is basically an integer. And the area is assigned or initialized with the value 135.46, which is basically a real number. And the variable name is initialized with a value GPREC, which is basically a string. So since I haven't declared the data type of sum as integer, but when an integer is stored in the variable sum, then the variable sum will automatically becomes of type integer. Similarly, area will become of type real or float. And the data type of the name will become the string data type. Okay, so this is how we declare variable names for variable names and how we initialize the variables. Now see the constants. The constants are basically values stored or assigned to variables. So in the previous example, the value 125 and the value 135.46 and the name GPREC. These are all basically the constants, so which will be used to assign to a variable. The constant value, this is called the constant because these values are basically called as constants because these values doesn't change during the course of execution of program. When they are assigned to variables, then the variable value may or may not change during the course of execution of the program. The constants are basically the values which are stored or assigned to variables. Now we'll see the keywords. The keywords of a programming language. The keywords are basically reserved words of a programming language. Reserved words of a programming language. So each keyword will have a specific meaning and specific purpose. So every keyword will have the specific meaning in the programming language, and it got to do some work, or it has some specific purpose. Since the keywords are basically reserved words, we cannot use keywords as identifiers. We cannot use keywords as identifiers. The identifiers are basically names used for variables. So we cannot use keywords as variable names or function names or class names or object names. Since the keywords are reserved words for the programming language, we cannot use them as identifiers like variable names, function names, class names, and object names. Now let us see some of the examples of the keywords used in Python language. So like if, else, elif, continue, break, and, or, not, for, while, and so on. So these are the some of the examples of the keywords which will be used in the Python programming language. Of course, there is a big list of keywords which is available for a Python programming language, where each keyword got a specific meaning and the specific purpose. So when we encounter all these keywords, we'll discuss more about all the keywords later in our discussions. Okay, so I'll stop this part, and so we'll continue the discussion in the next session. Thank you.